solve this challenge. For us, it was very simple. We mobilized the community. They went and picked the gaps within the communities. Please don't walk out. We have seats in between. I see people standing at the door. Please just get in. We have seats. So when they went to the household, and now they were asking this specific question: how far is your source of water? Who provides your water? Who pays for this water? Then it was clear that there was water within the community, but there was no potable water, what we call potable water. So it means the water was not clean enough for drinking. Thank you. Yes. So what did we do? We worked with the government based on that data. There is a seat here. We worked with the government officials, and we were able to support the community to have potable water. So what's the essence of this story? We are talking about citizen-generated data. So the citizens were able to get their own data and use that data for advocacy purposes. This afternoon, I know I'm talking to the convicted and the unconvicted, but we want to see, are we able to get a middle level playing ground? Are we able to generate data and use it? And the question we want to ask, or we seek to answer this afternoon is, one, is it possible for citizens to get their own data? Number two, is it possible to use this data to make change at the community level? And number three, is there space for this data in decision making? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to request that you help me welcome my panelists to the stage so that they can create space for us. James Nganga from KNBS, please join me on stage. Or do we have a stage? Or is it a podium? Or is it a space? Well, just come where I am. Help me invite Florence Seville from the SDG Kenya Forum. You're doing well. There are seats in front. Number 3, help me invite Haoi Sheng. Oh. Thank you. Help me invite Dr. Japheth Mosi. And finally, Peter Nilsson. Yay! Thank you. Kariuki, I'd like to request that you help us with time management. So, karibuni sana, gentlemen. So we will start by a round of introduction. Just tell us who you are, where you come from, what you do in less than 30 seconds, and one thing that you want people to remember you with from this session. James. I see you are ready with the mic, so take it away.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is James Nganga. I work for the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. I am in charge of sampling methods and standards. Where we have methods and standards is where CGD falls. So I am also in charge of quality at KNBS. And what I want people to remember me with is that statistics need to be of quality for them to be trusted. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. My name is Florence Sievuo. I'm from the SDGs Kenya Forum. It's a civil society coalition that brings together non-governmental organizations to champion sustainable development goals here in Kenya. And so, very interesting. I've been telling Christine's story of Open Institute, that same story, but in a different version. So, Christine, I think the background of this story is to say that one of the things that I'd want you to remember from this session is, before we started talking about citizen-generated data in this country, there were actually a few people who the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics thought, were not crazy, but thought were crazy, really championing the citizen-generated data. And this, I was among them. We're not many of us. I think we were about 5 of us. And so it's been a journey. It's really a journey. Even having this conversation and having it here in Kenya, for me, it's a journey that that has come to pass. So that's what I would say. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Howie Chan. I work UN Statistics Division, so I'm also wearing the hat as co-chair of the Collaborative on Citizen Data, together with Open Data Watch. So what my reflection, so I've been doing official statistics for 20 years, and I feel like I'm totally converted to the citizen data space. So thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, my name is Jafet Mursi. I am a lecturer and deputy director in charge of research and innovation at Daystar University, and also part of the team that are actually working on embedding open science and even citizen science within the curriculum in our, we are starting with Daystar, so I would like to be remembered as part of, because yes, we are talking citizen science outside there, but in the university we don't even have that within any of our research methods curriculum. So as part of open science at Daystar, that's what we are trying to do, to embed in our curriculum. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So my name is Peter Nilsson. I'm working at Statistics Sweden. I'm based here in Kenya, working together with the KMBS on the statistical projects in many areas. So I'm representing the National Statistical Offices, and yes, I'm connecting back to you, Christine. I'm thinking my area is not citizen-generated data. I'm kind of based in the kind of official, maybe a bit classic statistics. So I think, of course, it's a great potential of citizen-generated data in the communities, can of course have a lot of impact and lead to a lot of policy making. But I'm a pragmatic skeptic for statistical offices to use it, spend the time too much on it, maybe in many ways, but not too much. So that's my position here today.
Awesome. We spend time, but not. We spend time, but not too much on it. Okay? So, James, there's something you mentioned about statistics have to be quality. So I just want to turn it back to you, and my question is, how can citizen-generated data complement official statistics and address existing gaps? And talking from that quality lens and borrowing heavily from what has mentioned, we should look at it, but just give it a glance, not so much to cause distraction. Over to you.
Thank you for the question. I think there is so much that we can get from citizen-generated data. I want to pick from where you've just, the story that you've given about Nakuru. When you look at the national statistics offices, there's so much that they are required to do. All of us will agree that there is too much demand for statistics. But then resources are scarce, very scarce, especially when it comes to finances. So you'll realize that NSOs, whereas they have a lot to achieve or to provide, but then the monies that we get are not commensurate with the demands that we have. So what happens is that having looked at the various other sources of data besides the official statistics, there is the CGD that comes into play. That there are so many civil society organizations out there that are collecting data, but that data has not been in use. And you find that the civil society organizations are collecting, are fashioned around themes: education, water and sanitation, and so forth and so forth. And they work around various communities and settings. And therefore, that data, if harnessed, can also be used to complement official statistics, in that that data is collected at very, very low levels. Because when, like, for instance, if NSO is to collect data, we do it at, for instance, in Kenya, mostly at county level. But below county level, you find that we do not have data. And that's where the civil society organizations come into play, because CGD is collected mostly by the CGD, by the civil society organizations engaging the citizens at very low level. So at that point then, it means, because at NSO level, we are at higher level, meaning data is not as disaggregated as we would, but we have civil society organizations with disaggregated data. So that means we only need to do a few things, probably, that we shall be discussing as we go along, to make that data acceptable to some point in terms of quality, so that it can be used for official reporting. So there is so much to borrow from the CGD. Thank you.
Thank you. I want you to continue holding that mic. Don't pass it just yet. You have talked about data at the community level, a lot of work happening with the civil society and the communities. What do you think are the missing gaps, or what has KNBS put in place to ensure that this data is effectively adopted for decision-making processes?
Okay, thank you. So now what has happened is that after realizing that there's too much data out there, but then it is collected by civil society organizations who they collect it for their own purposes, to achieve certain goals that they have as civil society organizations. So as NSO then, to harness that data, there are several things that we need to do. One is to check on quality, the methods that have been used to collect that data. Is it fit for purpose? And in this case, is it fit for official reporting? And as KNBS, there is one thing that we did after realizing that there is a lot of data. We have collaborated with various civil society organizations led by SDG Kenya Forum, that is the convener of various civil society organizations that handle SDG, that produce data on SDG. And we have developed a criteria to check on the data, on the quality of the data that comes from, that is the CGD data. And that criteria is to ensure that, whereas we are saying we need to harness, but then we need to also ensure that we are giving data to policymakers and decision makers, data that is of quality, that can be used to make decisions that are sound, that are evidence-based. So in that case, the quality criteria has a few dimensions that they need, that the data need to meet, and we have lowered the threshold on quality to ensure that we do not again lock out that data from being used. So that quality criteria has a few dimensions of quality. To mention a few, probably accuracy. Is there a need for that data? As in, you don't just collect data for the sake of it. There has to be a gap that is existing. Is the methodological soundness good in terms of it entails sampling? Is it sound? When it comes to documentation, have you documented the processes that you've used to collect that data, in terms of what are the objectives of you going out to collect data? What are the questionnaires you've used? What are the classifications of the various, because in data, for it to be comparable, there has to be you have to adopt some nationally or internationally recognized standards. Like, for instance, classifications. If you're talking about employment or work or industries, there are certain classifications that you have to follow, so that then and then definitions. If you're talking about, for instance, an employment person, are we talking about the same person when you look at other like the KNBS or other NSOs across the world? So in that case, then those are the few things that we check to ensure that while we want to use it, then there has to be that quality. Number two of what we do is that we collaborate. Sorry, I hope I'm not taking a lot of your time.
1 minute.
We collaborate with this because we don't want to be like the police. We want to also be able to collaborate with them and assist the civil society organizations as they design these data collection endeavors. We are part of the process, and that has been enabled by SDG Kenya Forum, bringing us together, having that conversation. You need to do 1, 2, 3 for your data to be acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And you can pass the mic. There's something that you mentioned that I want us to come back to at a later time. You've talked about you have lowered the standards of quality to ensure that no one is left behind. So my question is, and I know it's a question maybe some of us are also thinking about, does lowering the standard of quality equate weaker data or low quality data? Food for thought. Peter, I want to turn it over to you. We are talking about fitness for purpose, we are talking about quality. Do we have any challenges when it comes to integrating CGD into official statistics? What is your experience?
I mean, first of all, I think I agree with most of what James said, actually. So that was the point of my pragmatic skepticism. We can put up standards, we can have criteria, so we can have a lot of support from national offices. But I'm thinking my point was not that citizen union data is not important, and that is, of course, true. But more it's important for communities more, and that kind of needs to be steered by the national office. So that's exactly my point. But I think, of course, the main challenge is for using them in official statistics is just quality and representatives. So I mean, most, in my view at least, I'm not an expert on citizen union data. I think most data is collected through kind of community polls. We have WhatsApp, we have texts and that kind of thing. And of course, that could be selective bias, of course, from that. So that is something to address. For if it should be treated as official statistics or used for official means. I mean, otherwise it's a lot of purpose with this data in other ways. So that is, of course, the main kind of challenge. You need to have a kind of proper sample. Yeah? But beyond the methods, maybe I'm coming back to my same point again. I mean, the institutional challenge is also like James also said, maybe copying every hour spent from the national office is kind of is important. You have a lot of tasks to do. I'm from the economic statistics myself, and I think we have a lot of challenges in especially in developing countries with not enough budgets. Yeah. So we have just to take some examples, labor force survey, how often does it come out in Kenya, and is it regular? It's really important statistics. We could put a lot of resources on using the admin data that is out there everywhere, but not really used. Instead, we use large, costly surveys. So that is kind of a priority for the statistical office. So that is my kind of main point. I think for quality, we should, of course, be the kind of taking care of how to measure the quality of this data. That is the main purpose, but not maybe spend all the time to kind of checking data and that kind of thing by ourselves. So that's my point, I think. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Quality. Yeah. Howie, I want to turn it over to you. And in your introduction, you mentioned that you have been working in this space for the past 20 years, or thereabout?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So just briefly, would you tell us what citizen-generated data is? I know there are some of us who are hearing this word for the very first time. So would you tell us what citizen-generated data is? And while at it, what mechanisms or what measures do we need to put in place to enhance collaboration between the non-state actors and the government?
Yes, so as under the collaborative, we've developed together the Copenhagen framework on citizen data, which over there we defined citizen data. And just two elements. One is engagement. I mean, the most important element is engagement with citizens. Throughout the entire data production value chain, as much as possible, and if not possible for the entire and the beginning, really co-design the data collection. So that's the definition. It's really engagement with citizens that we are really going for. Of course, we will be sharing a range of resources on data quality, on how to engage. How to engage and building partnership. And we have learned so much from KNBS and Kenya and from our partner countries. So these are something that we are going to offer, but I am so intrigued to respond to Peter's, if I may have a minute of that. For us as official statisticians, or from the point of view of NSOs, our task is not only on producing official statistics, it's actually to produce statistics so they can impact on people's life. We can support them, right? So why do we think official statistics and citizen data is so important in that space? Is through working on citizen data, through working so much more with our civil society organizations, we build a better relationship. I mean, it's not so much in Kenya or yet in terms of people don't want to respond to your surveys, but in the developed countries, and the response rate for official survey is going to the 20%. That people are not interested. Why? Because we're disconnected. We treat them as respondents, but they're not. They own the data. They are our mandate. We are there to serve their lives. So citizen data is not only about filling data gaps. It is about building the connection, relationship, thinking about the dynamics, how we work with our people. Because ultimately, we want to make impact on their lives. And it's often very difficult to use official statistics to see how much impact we're making, but citizen data is already making impact through working with local government, already changing the policy. So I really think ultimately our mission is linking to, my time's up.
Thank you.
I agree with that.
We will come back to that. Japheth, I want to turn it over to you. And for many years, we've always known that the academia is to invite us to school, take us through syllabuses, graduate us, and give us the power to read and write. So I want us to focus briefly about innovation. And are there any innovative approaches or initiatives that can strengthen the national data, the inclusive data system at the national level from the academia perspective?
Thank you. Yeah, from the academia as an industry or as a field, the aspect actually of innovation is actually not about the technology. We've had, for example, students struggling, for example, to get data, or they get a go ahead that this institution will give them data, and later they don't give them that data. So the aspect of innovation actually is about co-creation. Let me give an example. We all know Kibera is one of the largest slums in Kenya. How often, for example, do we have official statistics about Kibera? So which means if, for example, that data is collected today, so maybe after again in 2 months, or for example 3 months. When we now incorporate for example CGD or citizen generated data, we can now have the citizens as data, but just like as you said, no longer data subjects, but also as data partners. So if, for example, this student is doing her master's thesis and focusing on Kibera, so which means part of that data now, because presently they just include, they will be able to disseminate policy briefs, but even before that, the community is also co-creating that data, asking the right questions. Because again, in AI, there's something we call a domain expertise. We have people who've lived in Kibera for 20 to 30 years. They know, for example, whenever it rains, this part is normally flooded. If, for example, we go, when now the student is going to collect data, maybe that day that it's not raining. So when we now incorporate the aspect of co-creation now, we also tap into the domain knowledge of the citizens and also these communities, which the second aspect now is also continuous intelligence, so that now we don't just pick survey in, for example, in January and wait again till, for example, May. When the citizens now continuously provide, for example, this data, it now complements not only the existing gaps, but also it helps to influence for policy faster.
Thank you. James, there is a caution that has come up, continuous upgrading. I don't want you to answer to that. Japheth, actually, I didn't want you to pass over the mic. I was highlighting a case of our sensors and something that is coming out. If you are in school, you have a researcher here who's willing to give you a topic that will build onto the innovation. So, talking about the work that the academia is doing, are there any emerging areas that you think we can consider into the system, the national statistical system?
Yeah, I think two things. The first one is the aspect of data governance. Presently within the AI space, everyone is talking about data sovereignty, etc. Now, even as we now move to open science and also citizen science, at the end of the day, who will own, for example, this data that is contributed by the community? So we'll own this data. The student will, for example, get her master's thesis, and she graduates. She gets a promotion. That's it. What happens, for example, to the citizen? The other emerging aspect now is we can now no longer treat citizens as just respondents, but they are now also, for example, validators. So that, if, for example, official can PS statistics say this, the community can also be able to contribute that and say no, this is that's not actually the truth. So the other emerging thing now is having now the community as the citizens as validators, as actually quality assurers, so that even as by the time now we are relying, for example, on these statistics, we also have now the input from the communities who actually validate this. We've seen various examples where we see in the news, for example, and me, for example, which comes, for example, from that place, I don't even believe, for example, such statistics. When we now incorporate now citizen-generated data, we can now be able to complement, to validate before now it even goes to policy.
All right, thank you. So you've talked about something that is very critical, and I think it's been running throughout this festival, the bit about data subjects, not just being data subjects, but the voice and the value they bring onto this space. And how I want to turn it over to you, and my question is, what are some of the modernizing priorities that can ensure that the citizens' voices are brought onto the discussion table, not just as subjects, we come, we research you and we go, but we ensure that the research comes and it works with you and it brings the realities that you believe in?
A couple of things, keep it very short. I think engagement is something we need to learn. It's not a given. as NSOs, we need to learn from our civil society, community experts who are really good at convening, engage, how to do it. The other thing is, I wouldn't talk about quality, but I think one thing is think about how we budget our data collection. Shifting from spending a lot of funds on correcting, editing data, and shift more funds in the front about engagement, about really going through the instrument to see whether they actually, do they understand where we're asking? It requires quite a bit of the work. And the third one is, I think NSOs, I speak from our official, we're not very familiar with different type of data. What about quality data? What about key informants interview? These are so important to give us more insights and lived experience, and we don't know how to work with it. So that's something I think we need to learn.
Thank you. I can relate with that. At the Open Institute, we work a lot with communities and we collect a lot of data from time to time. And one question that we have been grappling with is, how do we make data collection effective, efficient, and cheap, quote unquote? So among the things that we have tried is having communities collect their data within their jurisdiction. But the other thing is we are moving to technology, and we are developing tools and platforms that can make sure that citizens are collecting data in the most effective and efficient ways. One such tool is Sabasi. So we use Sabasi for data collection, analysis, and dissemination. Other than that, Florence, is there any data from the civil society that is unused because, one, it's unofficial, and two, can the citizen-generated data fill the gaps in official statistics, if any? Assuming that there are gaps, can it fill that gap, and how?
Thank you. Yes, just the answer is yes, very straightforward. Out of the SDGs 234 indicators, for example, Kenya only reports on about 168 indicators, and I believe one of the things that convinced our national government in terms of this citizen-generated data was for us to bridge the SDG gaps within the SDG indicator. And I remember the conversations was mostly saying that the government of Kenya cannot produce all those indicators, and the realization, as James said, that there was a lot of data sitting out there that traditionally has not been, the priority of the Kenyan government, the priority of whichever government that you come from, maybe. And so, yes, the answer is that there's a lot of space, there's a lot of opportunities for us to work together. I want to give two examples because, as I said, the network is of civil society organizations. On education and learning metrics, we have Usawa agenda in regards to children's literacy and numeracy. And so right now, every national survey that they do, they've gone through the process of validation. KNBS, ourselves, we bring together civil society organizations that are collecting data and the validation process, and also performance monitoring for action. I see Mary here, she comes from that organization. Mary, maybe you can wave. And what they do is on tracking contraceptive use and stockouts. Many others, including Open Institute, ourselves, and others who are maybe in this room, have attempted to have our statistics validated or our data validated, but many times we are failed. One, something happened. And I like when James talked about policing. So we even asked them, so are you policing us now? But it was just a very good conversation to understand that it's not about being policed. It's about following the right criteria, the right methodologies, and ensuring that as we move forward, we understand what is required. Yeah, and I'm sure James will explain about the lowering of standards. I think that's a very good conversation on that. And so, for example, ourselves, one of the things that we did is the Kenyan counties, the subnational level, the county governments, they are encouraged to do something called the county statistical abstracts. And this is the Kenya has 47 counties. If you look at the county statistical abstract, they tell you about every little thing about that particular county. And so one county that we've supported for many years is Makueni County. And this particular county, one time when we were launching, because they've had 2018 to 2024 statistical abstracts, 2025, sorry, they're the most consistent county. And so with this production, so one time when we were launching, the governor said to us, so now our county has done this abstract for so many years, what else can we do? And they asked us that question. And so we said to them, we look at your data and we can see that, as he said, it's only at county level, but not at a ward level. The ward level is the lowest part. And so now we started conversations about doing an household survey. And for us, our interest was on gender equality and looking at gender indicators. And so we did the first ward within the Makueni County, it's called Makindu Ward Gender Assessment. And of course, we realized things on health and sanitation, water, things on household, whoever is aiding the household. There's a lot in there that many times a county government might not go deep just to showcase is this household headed by a disabled person, the issues of teen pregnancies, gender-based violence. There's a lot of issues that are really going on within the communities. And the best part was, for us to do this, we said we will not attempt it just as the SDG Kenya Forum. We will look at one of our and Usawa, we said to them, since you've already qualified through the bureau, can we do a peer-to-peer exchange? I'm giving this example because we are learning that we need to be doing peer-to-peer exchanges with already organizations or NGOs or similar organizations that have already done it, for you to have a better and a more straightforward way of doing it. And so we managed to do this through them because they had already gone through the Bureau of Statistics. They had already learned what to do or not to do. And so by the time we were finalizing and we are about to just launch this, we learned so many lessons. That, for example, we had to get the right personnel, we had to get the right skills, we had to, understand how the protocol goes in terms of getting the right, approvals in government at county level and so forth. And so these are some of the lessons that many of us who might want to collect data as citizen or with the citizen groups, we may not understand where to start and how to go about it. And with that also, I want to talk about the data commons, something that we and Open Institute are championing, a platform where we are saying to the civil society organizations, once you produce your data, it doesn't have to be approved by the Bureau of Statistics. Bring it forward, let's deposit it in a platform where everybody can come and see what you're doing, so that in case you need maybe for us to improve or we need to learn something, we need to do the peer-to-peer exchanges, we need to take this forward with the Bureau of Statistics, we can do that. And so we are having those kind of opportunities where we are exchanging, learning amongst ourselves, but also reaching out to other countries. We've done peer-to-peer exchanges through Hawaii's, Paris 21, and many others that have come to us to say, can we partner, the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data. So there's an opportunity in there. Communities have a lot of issues they are going through. Many times nobody is focusing on them. We have the opportunity to invest. The resourcing part is what is a challenge, because even as the Bureau said, they can only go this far. And then the challenge is for us to take it further and give us the right statistics for voluntary national reviews, but also for our country development. Thank you.
Thank you, Florence. And now I want to turn it over to us if we have questions, concerns, anything to add on to. But just before that, I want to mention two things. I want to ask a question and mention one thing. The data commons. Is it public? Is it private? Can anybody access it? How do we access it if it's open? Because we cannot be talking about using data and we are still having some behind passwords and locks. Number two, one question that I've had to answer over and over again during this festival is the fact that how is Kenya working so well, the civil society and the government? How is this partnership? How did it come about? So when we come back, James and Florence, because you represent the bigger arm, I'd like you to just mention that, how this has worked, if it was easy from the word go, if KEBS was formed and it started working with the civil society, and if SDG just walked and things happened. So are there any questions, concerns from the floor that somebody would like to raise? Okay, 1, 2, ladies, 3. So 1, 2, 3. Start with him.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much. My name is Mwindi Maingi. I'm from Jimei CBO based in Machakos County here in Kenya. My question is addressed to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. First and foremost, I know I appreciate what you have said that CEOs, especially grassroots, they harness data concentrated on thematic areas, but you'll find that you might collect data, especially let's say on WASH, and that data, when you compare it with the poverty probability index, it doesn't match. Is it high time as Africa we frame our key indicators on PPIs? Because last year we collected data, we partnered with an African think tank, but you'll find that WASH is low in other areas, but the questions being asked on the PPIs doesn't match. I'll give an example. When we are being trained at the grassroots so that we go and collect this data, my professor gave us a case example of a Maasai. A Maasai is visited there, and they are asked, do you own land? They say yes. Of course, it's ancestral, yes. Do you have cattle? They say yes. Okay, do you consume milk? Yes. Then they'll say that person is very rich, and yet they are limited to access of water. I hope my point is driven home. So is it high time as Africans we pilot and have a discussion on the poverty probability index in CGD? Thank you.
Yeah. My name is John Ekaru. I'm the County Director for Monitoring and Evaluation from Turkana County, Kenya. And so my question is, is there any harm in using non-official statistics? Because my experience working with the county is we mostly use citizen-generated data. Like throughout the planning period, when we do public participation for county integrated development plans, we go out to the citizen, ask them their priorities, we come and plan for them. During the budgets, that's the same thing that happens, all the way to even CIDP reviews. So, and that data never ends up to KNBS or anywhere where we can call it official statistics. But that's what we use to plan throughout. And so it raises concerns. And that's why my question, is there any harm in using official and non-official statistics? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My question is drawn from what most of the presenters have talked about. You have all talked about availability of this citizen-generated data. To tell us something about retrieval. How do we retrieve this citizen-generated data from whatever source? Thank you.
Hiya, thank you. For me, there's not a question, it's basically a main concern. This whole session has been about citizen voices and citizen data, but I think it's been pretty much about what that citizen voices can do to help official statistics. Now the question is, can we flip the script and how official statistics can help citizen voices to bring up and raise issues? There has been a lot of taking over the fact that this is kind of like an extractive point of view of we are using citizen voices, citizen data taken already by CSOs, and we are including it in a statistic. I find that point of view kind of problematic because then we are just thinking of citizens as data points and subjects. Why any of you position, and how is it that you would think any of these organizations will be able to integrate a much more citizen-focused point of view about data and statistics? Because I would have actually appreciated if there was also a citizen data generating organization in this panel. And I think we have focused a lot on the macroeconomic level of data, and not so much of a bottom-up approach towards citizen voices. So it's more about like steering the pot and flipping the script to get to know your point of view on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Festus Bor from Nakuru County. I work with the county government of Nakuru as a fiscal planner. My question is a follow-up on my colleague from Turkana. So I want to know what official data means. Because if the county government has collected data and has proven that it's true facts, then I have a feeling that's official data from the county. So maybe we can get clarification from the KNBS official on the level of officialness. Because we also been doing the similar, we are doing this similar, we have the similar situation in Nakuru, like my colleagues. Because even the VLR, we have done Nakuru City VLR. I know you are very conversant with that. And we had the huge gaps with regards to the indexes and filling the gaps. And we had we reached KNBS and still we had a lot of gaps. They didn't have the data, so we had to crowdsource some of the data sets and validate them and use them to report for our VLR for Nakuru City. Yeah, thank you.
I'm Shika, representing LNOV Nepal and VSO. Earlier, I also used to think that we are the one who creates lots of the citizen-generated data, and we were very happy that we are changing lives of the people. So why do we need to work with the NSO? Because, or even with NHRC, it's so complicated because the things in the state is so hierarchical. We just believe in a circular manner, but the state agency believe in a top-down or, I don't know, in a different manner. So why to interact with them? But thanks goes to Collaborative and the UNSD. They brought us together. We now understand the limitations of ourselves and also limitations of NSO and also the other government agencies. So why now I understood is that we need to bring those citizen-generated data into at least in the eyes of the government, because now we will be scaling up of our efforts and of our impact, not only at the community level, but also at the state level. So definitely it's difficult, it's challenging, because we work very differently, we think very differently, but there is any other excuse. We really need to work together and collaborate if we really need to change people's life in much more sustainable and equitable manner. We really don't have any excuse now.
Thank you. Any last burning one? Going once, going twice, gone. Ladies and gentlemen, please just stand. Yes. Just stand, just stand. Yes, just stand. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Okay, we can have our seats. James, a lot of questions were directed to you. So I want you to take a breather first before you take the mic. Ahoy, there was a question on flipping the citizen voices versus the national statistics and the extractive process. Would you take that?
Yes, definitely. So when we started working on citizen data 3 years ago, and we were talking about filling data gap for SDGs, and then as we move forward, working more closely, and it was also our first time working with CSOs, and we realized, no, our mission is not about filling data gaps. Who cares, really? Why do I need to fulfill a mission that the UN actually brought up there in terms of 234 indicators? It's really about amplifying the voices. And a lot of data are already making impact in your county level, as you said, fiscal policy. But I also asked the question, why do you still want to bring it to the NSO and the government? It's about recognition. The CSOs, the communities that are often left behind, they want to show to the government, look, you failed your commitment. You said everyone has access to clean water, but in our community, we don't have that. So I think it's really something that could really support bringing the voices of citizens into the public. And NSO is sort of a channel to reach to the public, to the general government.
Thank you. Peter, would you like to add something? And as you add something onto that, what is official data? What is official statistics?
Yes, I mean, I just kind of want to start with saying something. I mean, official statistics, I mean, not start with official term, but I mean, statistics that the statistical office produce, it's not, it's affecting people as well. Yeah? I mean, cost of living indexes, inflation, we have labor force data. If that is lacking, lack quality, that is really, really problematic in society. This is statistics that kind of have the most effect on budgets and on decision making in society. So saying like we need citizen-generated data to affect people, I think is I want to flip back. Yeah, so that is a bit the first point. But officially, it's tricky. It's something like statistical offices make up a little bit. Yeah, we have something that we want to kind of say has a minimum standard quality. So we usually have some criteria. We say they have to be documented, they have to be in following the kind of process steps of the statistical processes and that kind of thing. So it's a bit of really what how we measure quality, of course. So that is something we need to agree on, and that I mean, someone needs to kind of set the standards, and that's usually the role for the statistical office. But it could be changed. It's not cut in stone, of course. Quality is changeable. We saw that during the COVID. Had a lot of we wanted more timely statistics. We couldn't wait to see the effect. We couldn't see the kind of how is this impacting people. So then timeliness was the most important. We skipped the accuracy. So that is of course something we need to kind of think about in relation to which society and what kind of situation we are. But we need to have something to hold our hands to. Otherwise we lost in just a lot of data that everyone uses in the wrong way. Yeah.
Okay. Thank Yes. The hope that in this panel, there are people who work at the lowest level at the community. I'm throwing this to you because SDG Kenya Forum is a member organization. Is it?
You are a member. Yeah. No, but I get your point. Yeah. So, yes. I think it's the structure, just how the conversation was structured, that trying to showcase maybe how Kenya or how countries can integrate citizen-generated data to the local or the local NSO, the National Statistical Organization. I think that was the essence of the conversation. But yes, there are so many very, very critical examples and very good examples I wish we had more time or more organizations that could sit here and talk about their work, what they have done. From the indigenous navigators, we have communities that have done, like the Maasais and how they used to, use maybe track time using the sun. We have organizations talking about the collection of data on issues of gender-based violence, teenage pregnancies. We have organizations collecting data on water and sanitation. There's a lot, like on every SDG, there's an organization at least working on an indicator or something that maybe at national level, it could still be there on health, for example, but it's not the granular level that we want to see that. So yes, there are many organizations in this country that are collecting citizen-generated data, and that's why we talked about the Data Commons platform. Why we initiated this Data Commons platform was for us now to start showcasing. There's been a lot of conversations.
Florence, allow me to cut you short. I want to take you back. Because SDG Kenya Forum is a member organization and your membership is cross-cutting from community-based organizations to the super non-governmental organizations. Is there one example from your members that you can share in like a minute or so? An initiative that has been done by the community so that those of us sitting in this room are able to put this into context. So it's not about us just talking about how citizens can be involved or how we can bring the citizens' voices, but a sort of practical experience that we can share.
Okay, thank you. I didn't think we had, thanks for the opportunity to share that. I thought, the time was a bit short for that. But yes, we have, I'll talk about the indigenous Ilepa. This is a group of a national organization, but it's based in one county. It's called Narok County here, and this is where the Maasais in Kenya come from, Narok County and Kajiado County. And so they've been collecting data, just showcasing what has been happening traditionally and the times now, because a lot of things have changed when it comes to issues of grazing, when it comes to weather patterns, the climate change, and so forth. And so they've come up with a tool with many of their partners called the Indigenous Navigator. Very, very interesting. Communities identify an issue amongst themselves, like now the Maasai is feeling like now we can't migrate as much as we used to do. I always tell people this whole Nairobi belongs to the Maasai. They would come everywhere, and right now they're not able to do that to graze their cattle. And so them coming up with alternative ways of maybe grazing their cattle, alternative ways through policies, through their county governments, and showcasing why this matters. So there's those kind of examples that exist. And so go back to the Data Commons. This is a platform that we are calling upon those of you that are in Kenya producing citizen-generated data. We want to have a place where we can all deposit our data, be it validated by government or not. It doesn't matter. All that matters is you are doing something, you have some data that you can showcase, you are producing to change policy, or you're producing to showcase the needs of a community. And that's what we are saying. We're telling communities when there's a need through your CBOs, through your women groups, let's come together, let's showcase, because the big thing about, for us, where we sit, about citizen-generated data, it's about resource allocation. If communities are not counted, then they cannot be in the national budgets. Then they cannot access that water point that you're talking about. They cannot access good quality education for their children. And so for us, it's about policy. It's about changing lives. And how do you change lives? Maybe somebody sitting in a different office may be talking about statistics as statistics. But for us, it's about lives and how we change lives. And so that's the message that we want to pass forward, to say that let's continue to encourage the production of these local statistics that can be used, and also the methodology can be followed through what the National Bureau of Statistics is saying, so that also it can be seen fit for use at national level. Thank you.
Thank you, Florence. And just to add something a little bit about the Data Commons, because it's an initiative of the Open Institute and the SDG Kenya Forum. One thing that we realized was a lot of us were collecting data, and most of the time we were going to the same community at different times, and asking more or less the same information. So we ask ourselves, how do we put this information together so that Open Institute doesn't go to community A, the next week another organization is there looking at more or less the same thing, and how do we not get data that already existed somewhere? So this is the whole essence behind the Data Commons platform, and now this is just bringing the data together. And one thing that we have realized, this was launched in March, was it March, Florence? Yes, March 2026. And we have realized that citizens, communities, civil society groups are already downloading this data for their use, which clearly shows that there was a gap that existed, and now we are moving towards filling that gap. So I'd like to ask members of Open Institute and SDG Kenya Forum in the room, please just lift your hands. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put them up, put them up, put them up. Please look at those hands in case you would need to see the data platform, the Data Commons platform. Please just reach out to any of them so they'll walk you through that. So, Ahoy, I'll come back to you about some work you are involved in. An e-learning, not now, an e-learning platform on citizen data. So I will come back to that. But James, there were tons and tons of questions for you. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for the questions that you have asked, which are going to shed light on a number of things. Maybe to pick up from where you left, I wanted to add something. We try to avoid respondent burden, because if you go to the same communities collecting the same data, then you risk them providing garbage, refusing to respond, and that lowers the quality of data. And that's why, as KNBS, we are in talks with civil society organizations to ensure that we validate their data so that we can upload them in our website so that they can be available for all to use, decision makers, civil society organizations themselves, and so forth. So coming to the questions, I'll start with the one, I think, from Makueni, Machakos. You were wondering whether we can devise our own ways of defining poverty. Let me confess to you, I'm not a poverty expert, but then I have a response to you. The thing is that we do all these things in a community of nations so that we can be able to have comparable indicators. And therefore, it is always good to use the same internationally recognized standards that have already been tested and put in place so that we can be able to use them, so that whatever data that Kenya produces can be able to be compared with that from Uganda, from Indonesia, from whichever country. However, there are things that we call, or there's something that we call contextualizing those standards so that we localize. Like, for instance, if we are defining poverty, how do we define poverty? Does owning a cow mean that you're rich, and so forth? So it is something that we need to, I agree with you, it's something that we need to discuss, not on the computation aspect, but on the items that we consider. If a household owns, is it considered to be poor, and so forth and so forth. I think that's what you meant, and it is something that we should discuss. And I can assure you that if you look at our various reports that we produce on, there's an indicator on wealth index, and what we do is that for those wealth index, if you compare the assets that we have, there are assets that are within Kenya. If you compare with various other countries, you will find there are some assets that we consider when we are computing wealth index that they may not be necessarily considering. So much for that. Then Turkana, the big elephant in the room, is about what is official. I think someone followed it up by asking, what is official statistics? And then the response to that is that official statistics are statistics that follow international standards. International standards have already been established by, again, the Community of Nations, United Nations. And there are principles, 10 of them, that have been introduced by United Nations. They are called United Nations Principles of Official Statistics. That being the case, we also, as countries, have to coordinate production of statistics. And during coordination of production of statistics, there is something we call as the National Statistical System. And each and every country has a national statistical system. Here in Kenya, the National Statistical System comprises of all governmental institutions that produce statistics. And they are all coordinated by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. During that coordination, we introduce standards that each and every statistics producing entity has to go by, so that at the end of the day, whatever statistics that you as Turkana produce, somebody else will pick those statistics, trust them, and use them to formulate policy. And when you go to various developed countries, you'll find that they have, like the UK, they have a statistics authority that ensures, puts a rubber stamp. They put a tick, if you look at their official statistics, to the data that has been evaluated. They have looked at the methodologies that have been used, and they have satisfied themselves that those methodologies are right, the questions are right, the classifications are right, and so forth, so that at the end of the day, then those statistics can be used can be classified as official statistics. So the long and short of that is that there are standards that have to be followed. And the other thing that I needed to quickly add is that in Kenya, we all know that statistics is a concurrent function, which means they are produced at national level and also by the national government. The national government produce statistics for planning at county level. So you're allowed by the Constitution to collect statistics that can be used for planning at county level. But that does not remove you from following the correct international standards, because if again you collect statistics for the sake of collecting the statistics, then the policies that you're going to formulate, the decisions that are going to be made at that level are not going to go along with the things on the ground that are happening on the ground. At KNBS, we have recognized that there are several gaps that exist, and we are in the process of coming up with the statistics bill. You might have heard about it. And that statistics bill incorporates the county governments by proposing to have county statistics offices. Now, those county statistics, because we realized several counties are just employing one person as a statistician, and at the end of the day, you realize they get overwhelmed, they are required to do so much. So the county statistics bill proposes to have a county statistics office, and that county statistics office is the one that is going now to form part of the national statistical system that is going to be coordinated by the KNBA, so that at the end of the day, as I said, we are not out there to police, but we are out there to collaborate and ensure that whatever statistics that we produce in Kenya, if someone downloads those statistics from wherever they are in the world, then they can be able to be certain that those statistics are of very high quality. I think I've responded to 3 questions. About the retrieval, probably I could have a say on that. When we validate CGD at KNBS, you realize that this data is collected by civil society organizations mostly, or non-state actors. One of the qualifications for that data to be uptaken by KNBS and uploaded on our website is that it must be available. It must be made available to other people for them to use the data. And therefore, that civil society organization must be able to upload their data on their website, so that then someone can be able to get to their website, download the data, and use that data. We also take that data and put it on our website. If you look at our KNBS website, you'll be able to see the reports that and data that Florence referred to. The one from International Center for Reproductive Health, the performance monitoring for action data that monitors issues to do with maternal health and so forth. They collected that data. We did evaluate the data. We found it to be fit for purpose, and therefore we uploaded it on our website. Same case with data from Musawa Agenda. You'll be able to see they deal with, that's a civil society organization that deals with issues to do with education, numeracy and literacy skills. And again, we have gone through their data. We found it again fit for purpose. We have uploaded it on our website. So if you go to our website, you'll be able to see that data on our website. So that makes us collaborate and ensure data that has been validated is available for use by our various stakeholders across the country and outside the country also. Coming to the issue of the lowering, you had said that, I don't know whether you're saving that for last or I should respond to it.
Take it away.
The issue about lowering the quality, it does not mean that then that data is not fit for purpose. Mm-hmm. The only thing it means is that we recognize that we are at various levels. So you will find it's like when you the military is recruiting, they have a certain height below which you will not qualify, but they would wish to have everybody very tall, but then we realize people are having different heights, and that's why they set that minimum. So even as we've set a minimum, that below that, then that means that data is completely unusable. It does not, in terms of methodological soundness, in terms of accuracy, in terms of need and so relevance and so forth. There are various dimensions of quality that we look at. So at the end of the day, that minimum threshold that we have put, we have evaluated and said that if your data meets that minimum threshold, then it is of quality, and it makes sense for policy makers to depend on it when they are making, when they are doing their policies and deciding for the common good of the Kenyans. Thank you.
Thank you. So as we wind up, ladies and gentlemen, what's the one action that we can take to ensure that citizens' voices come to the decision-making table, that citizen voices are recognized within the data that is collected? And Ahoy, when the mic comes to you, you can talk about the work around citizen data course. So Peter, do I start with you? Now that you're just next to me.
I think Kenya has been doing just that. They have this document, very good quality assurance framework. The KESCAF is in the web page, and that kind of sets up the criteria for quality just mentioned. So I think that is the most important thing, to have some kind of standards of how the data should look like.
Okay, yeah, I think for me, actually, I think from the point of academia, for those who've done mostly their masters in Kenya and also PhDs, we still treat our respondents, which is now our citizens, just as data subjects. Once they give us the data, we do our analysis, we share the results, we do the defenses, and then we graduate. Seldomly do we go back and share the same with that community. So I think there is actually need to to recognize that the citizens and these respondents now should no longer be data subjects, but now data partners, so that even as we graduate, as we celebrate when wearing, for example, that gown, we go back to that community, share our results. And then also the other aspect which you've mentioned is data commons. We still also have postgrad students within higher education which are still actually struggling to get data. And then again, when they also get data and they submit that thesis, we just store them at the policy is stored at the university for 5 years. So Aaron, I think the other thing now is, can that also now move to KNPS so that it can now be formed the whole part of complete data which can go to statistics, or even the one for data commons. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're offering this fantastic tool in partnership, thanks to our Open Institute and the World Bank, the collaborative on citizen data. We have a very interactive e-learning course, completely free of charge. And it's not super long, but very interactive with a lot of examples. Please, if you would like to have the link to the course, reach out to any of us. So we would like to invite to really give you understanding what citizen data is, what are the examples, what are the practical impact we have seen on the ground. We are going to invite people who have taken the courses to a webinar the collaborative is going to organize in the fall to share your reflections of your learning and also your work on the ground. So we'll do a lucky draw, I think, and share your learning experience on LinkedIn, where we have been following your LinkedIn, and tag us. And then we're also going to support 2 learners of the e-learning course to the World Data Forum in Riyadh in November. So please do that and take the course and let us know you've taken the course so we can reach out to you. Thank you.
One of the things I always say, every time we've sat in a meeting with the NSO and as citizen-generated data producers, many times we leave the meeting with so many questions or many unanswered question marks. So it's just to say to you, in case you're leaving this meeting feeling as if there are many questions that are not answered, I think welcome to the world of citizen-generated data. There's a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of things to be discussed and also priorities to be set right. So my parting shot to you will be the urgency. There's an urgency in terms of us giving priority to citizen-generated data. There's an urgency to that. So my call to all of us is let's understand the need, why citizens need to voice who they are and what they are going through. And then, of course, there's a need for mobilization, for us to mobilize, and then resource. We need to resource that, because this is the 360 circle that is lacking within the citizen-generated data, whereby the agency is created, you come again and mobilize, and then you resource. And after we resource, we need to action. We talked about what is not going right in our countries, in our communities, and this can be solved through voices that come from those that are going through the issues that they are going through. And so that's why I'm a passionate champion of citizen-generated data, and I hope as you leave this room today, you will understand the urgency and you will, moving forward, collaborate. One of the biggest challenges we are facing is everybody is holding on to their data. I'll tell you that. And that's where, if you look at our platform, we have, when we call for a meeting, we normally are sometimes 200 of us with data. And then when it comes to depositing the data, we only have like 10 organizations. People say stories about their funder. People talk about they're not very sure, which is true. Sometimes those concerns are legitimate. I'm not downplaying any reasons, but all I'm saying is we need to continuously have this conversation and find a way how we can make this work for all of us. Because it's not about us. It's not about you as an organization holding on to that data. That data is about changing community lives. And let's ensure that we can share, we can provide platforms, we can ask the right questions, we can make things work for our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, picking it up from where Florence left, about the issue of people sitting with their data and not allowing others to have a look at it or use it. SDG is about leaving no one behind. And for us to leave no one behind, we also need to include the citizen voices. Citizen voices can only be included through CGD. And therefore, I am going to join Florence in calling up on those who are holding data to bring up the data so that we can validate it. Let's work. And as I keep on saying, we as KNBS are willing to help. We have gone out of our way in supporting organizations, design their tools, design their methodologies, so that when they go out there, then they are almost certain that their data is going to be validated and become fit for purpose and to be used for official reporting. As I thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. A round of applause to the speakers. Thank you so much. So we are going to end it there. In case you have questions, this team is still here. Please reach out to one or two. In case you want more information about the tools we have mentioned here, CSO's Data Commons, Sabasi, the e-learning platform called SOMO, please visit booth 12 and 13. They are side by side. There is so much resource around citizen-generated data. Finally, I want to invite you to our next session, which is more of a continuation on this topic, happening right next door from 4 p.m. That's all we had time for. It's been a pleasure hosting this session. Thank you very much. Asante sana.
Invite people for the dinner. That's what Sarah is saying.
Oh, sorry. There is a cocktail this evening at the first floor. So please, there is, where is it? Okay, Kariuki, please just come. So there's a cocktail, and when Kenyan